JourneyTEAM. So we have just over 120 team members, and we've been growing very quickly, which is exciting. Over the past 12 months, we've been able to help over 300 customers. But overall, we've been in business for 27 years, and in that time, we have won Microsoft Partner of the Year 2 times. We have 90% referenceable customers. We have 14 gold and silver Microsoft competencies. And in the past 5 years, we've completed over 1,300 projects, and we've been voted best place to work 3 times. So we're very proud of some of those statistics for us, which is awesome. And then a little bit more about JourneyTEAM. We are a full stack Microsoft partner, and so we have 6 different practices here. We have ERP, CRM, cloud, collaboration and content, data and BI, and change management and adoption. So today, this session is within our collaboration and content. So we have members of our SharePoint team here.
Thanks everyone for coming. And like Lisa said, today we're going to talk about building apps in Teams. My name is Rhett. I am a principal software developer at JourneyTEAM. I've been here for about 8 years. I've worked on SharePoint, Teams, Azure, Dynamics 365, kind of covered a lot of the gambit of the Microsoft ecosystem. And so today we'll talk about a little bit more about how Teams works.
And I'm Ben Taylor. I work as a functional consultant for our SharePoint team, helping with knowledge management, information architecture, SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, everything like that. And just as another quick introduction, we also have John Marks on the phone with us. He's from Swinnerton Builders, and he will be joining us for part of this presentation to give a little bit of background around a specific use case that we were able to create a custom application for him and his organization within Teams. But I'll pass it back over to Rhett.
Thanks, Ben. So today we'll talk about custom app development in Teams, how we add what we build in Teams when we're building apps. We'll talk about apps, tabs, bots, messaging extensions, and adaptive cards, and we'll dig into each of those as we go along. Feel free as we're talking to ask questions in the chat. We'll both be monitoring the chat so we can answer questions as we go along. So feel free to interrupt us, and we'd be happy to stop for a second and discuss that. So within Teams, the basis of development, or the major, I guess, development within Teams is called apps. And apps are really just a connection or a collection of tabs. Within Teams, you have the ability to create apps and add them. But when they get added to this little toolbar over on the left. So if you'll see this picture, this is a demo app that we've built. It has an app there, and that app can have multiple tabs, and I'll dig into tabs. Apps are Teams aware, meaning they know who I am, the context of my screen, meaning if I'm using high contrast mode or dark mode, apps can collect that theme. And they are embedded in Teams. They're also HTML iframes. So what that means is we can build APIs and websites and things that are just embedded into these apps, and they feel very natural as part of the Teams interface. My arrow's not working. Tabs are just like apps. They are iframes within Teams. They're embedded in Teams. Again, they're Teams aware, so they know who I am and theming and stuff. They can be used in apps or in groups. So within a group or a channel, we can have a tab, and that tab can have, or we can build one or more tabs within it, and we can build custom tabs, or there's a ton of out-of-the-box tabs. SharePoint has some, CRM has a few. There's quite a few options for tabs within the ecosystem as it is, but we can customize that as well. So this is not working. So here's some examples of an org chart, list view within SharePoint, and also just a task list. So if I'm managing tasks within like project, I have a view of my tasks, which is pretty cool. Bots. So bots are highly conversational, highly flexible. AI that allows us to communicate with users. This can be through text or through adaptive cards or through whatever, but they're super customizable. Because they're programmable, we can reach out to custom APIs. We can have it be very, the responses be very specific to what they need, and we can make it whatever we want. They can take a very long amount of time to build. They can be very simple. There is libraries and tools out there that Microsoft has on the Power Platform that make this sort of a drag and drop functionality. But if we want to, we can go in and we can build a whole app using custom code, custom APIs that we build and reach out to external services that we want to. If say for example you have an external system that just Microsoft doesn't know about, or it's not part of the Microsoft stack, so the APIs don't exist to connect to it, we could build an API within a bot that could connect to it and communicate with that system. That could be like Atlassian for task management. We could have it create tasks. We could have it get a list of tasks that I have. It could be through maybe GitHub. Maybe we want to just see code check-in reports or things like that. We could grab that through a bot and maybe expose it that way. So it's highly customizable and super flexible. Then the other way you can customize messages is through what's called adaptive cards. So Microsoft has built this capability of this framework of adaptive cards, if you will, that allows us to build templated message responses that can be customized to a UI. And specifically, we're talking about the use case in Teams, but adaptive cards are not necessarily built for Teams. They're built for a lot of different platforms, and they're exposed in Teams. This makes it allows us to like expose this same data in like Outlook or Cortana or Windows as some other interface, I guess, or a similar interface across different platforms. It can include buttons, attachments, pictures, whatever we want to kind of make the experience a richer experience. That's what adaptive cards are for. And later in the presentation, after Ben's demo, we can we'll go over that and what those kind of look like. So here's some little examples of adaptive cards. A guy, he wanted to just information about a person, or maybe we can cancel a timer, set an alarm, or in this case, they've got an adaptive card that just says the flight information from Amsterdam to San Francisco. So that can be highly customizable, and it can display whatever information you want. They're built on JSON, so if you're not familiar with HTML and CSS, you don't necessarily need to know that. It's a very particular markup that Microsoft's built, so you just have to get familiar with their markup. Although JSON's a very generic markup, Microsoft's built their own key values for within that JSON. So, and then finally, we can extend Teams through messaging extensions, and there's actually quite a few different ways, and I'll talk through each of them. We can interact with web services or do whatever. Specifically, we can build action commands, and that's like a button that will show a pop-up. And in that pop-up, we could have a form, and that form could connect to some API, or it could connect to an external system, or it could connect to anywhere we want. But it essentially gives us the ability to customize a UI that might be particular to a person's use case. It could be a form that pops up and is just a prompt for maybe just a daily poll that we want to custom build or something. So that's one way. Another way we can customize Teams is through search commands. Search commands are basically the ability for us to search across external systems. This could be through SharePoint. It could be through Graph search APIs. We could reach out to Dynamics 365's customer engagement and reach out and get a list of contacts and accounts. So that can be customized to reach out to whatever system you want and then displayed within the Teams interface. And finally, we have what's called link unfurling. And this is actually fairly common, but there's not a ton of, well, there might be use cases depending on your use. But what it does is it looks at the domain of your current link that you paste into the chat, and we can expose content in a more rich way. So for example, if I embed a YouTube link into my Teams chat, we can link unfurl it, and we can have like a thumbnail of that YouTube video, or we can maybe have a button that they click on and play the video or something like that. Or if, for example, we pasted a link from Amazon, you might see the link, but also you would see like the item description that we're linking to and the cost and whatever. So link unfurling gives a more rich user experience without necessarily like collecting all that information. It just uses custom code to build and expose that depending on what domain they paste in. And that's it. So we'll turn it over to Ben now, and he'll and Ben and John to talk about the solution we built for them.
Thanks, Rhett. So Rhett has done a really good job at outlining all of the different ways that we can customize teams. And a lot of this is hypothetical. So what we want to do now is to provide hard data. So an actual use case of one of our clients, some of the problems they were having, and how we were able to create a custom application within Teams to help them fix those problems. So John Marks here, he's the Chief Technology Officer over at Swinnerton Builders, and we're very grateful to have him here on the call. So I'm going to let him provide a little bit of background behind him, the company, and the struggles that they were having, and then we'll jump into a demo of the application that we were able to build. So over to you, John.
Great, thank you, Ben. And Ben, Rhett, and Lisa, thanks for having me. It's great to be able to speak to those engaged with JourneyTEAM. So as Ben mentioned, I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Swinnerton. Swinnerton is a general contractor, a builder. We're 133 years old, I think, now, so we're a long-standing organization. I've also long-standing. I've been with Swinnerton for over 25 years now. It's been my only real job. And for a good portion of that, I've been a customer of JourneyTEAM. So they've helped us out in many different ways over the years, and I'm glad to be able to share some of the work we've done together. So the particular challenge Swinnerton was having with Teams was really twofold. One was industry specific. Construction is a fairly litigious industry and has a lot of governance requirements for documents in particular. So we have to be very careful on how we share documents, how we store documents, how those documents are classified so that we can ensure that they are properly handled during the course of construction, that they are retained for 10 years after construction completes, and that information is discoverable in case of litigation post-construction. So that's not specific to Swinnerton, that is general to the building industry. With over 600 active projects at any one time, you can imagine we can't just let people create team sites, do whatever they want with those team sites. We have to make sure that those are structured, that those are properly secured for each one of those projects. And we really want to take advantage of Teams for our construction projects. It's a great platform for document collaboration and team communication, etc. We had to overcome that challenge. That was one challenge, just governance. The other is Swinnerton specific. We're a very decentralized organization with over 30 offices, all of which act fairly independently. We've got a really fun culture, so there's a lot of different collections of people that self-form in all these different offices, whether it's around hobbies or interests or volunteer work that goes on in the offices. We also have a lot of cross-office teams. Again, this could be around areas of interest, etc. So what we found is that Teams was organically adopted at Swinnerton. I'm sure many people on this call has had this problem, and we had, it used to be SharePoint sprawl, now we have Teams sprawl. And again, that presented the unique challenges. Like for me, I'm a member of probably 50 teams. Just locating the team quickly that I want to interact with was a challenge, and we needed to overcome that. And part of it was selfish, I'll admit, but I was not the only one experiencing this pain within Teams. So a way to actually locate and quickly engage within your area of interest, your team, your group at any one time. And we were also looking for a way really to drive the adoption of Teams. I think almost everyone here probably realizes the value in Teams, and if you can just get people using it and the word out, they'll engage. So we worked with JourneyTEAM, and we came up with a framework by which we can find the balance between governance and self-service, so that users can deploy sites that come with the proper governance. So if it's a project team site, highly governed. If it's a hobby site, for example, very lightly governed. Finding that balance, finding an interface that allows people to quickly locate their team and engage quickly, as I said, because there can be so many that are any individual can be a member of. Let's see, with that, I think I could turn that back over to you, Ben. Is there any areas I missed there?
No, I think that's perfect.
Okay.
So I'll take over from there, John. So what we did from there is when we met with John and the rest of his team, we really broke down those problems into 3 pieces. So a way for everybody to see all of the teams easily that they're a member of, a way to see all of the teams within their organization, even private teams, and then also a way to put some governance and structure around the creation of teams. And even further than that, break the teams and the team creation into different types of groups. So things like a project that he had mentioned, over 600 different types of projects, but not every group that needs to be created is a project. There are different types of those as well. So let me go ahead and take over sharing now, and we'll jump over with this demo. So the application that we were able to build for him is called Team Hub. Now, behind the scenes, how Team Hub works is Team Hub is 3 different web parts hosted on 3 different SharePoint pages. So it uses SharePoint framework. And so we have a web part specifically for my teams, another one for all teams, and one other one for request teams. So whenever we need to make any changes or set any configurations, we can come to the SharePoint page, edit the web part, modify the configurations, and then those configurations will show directly within Team Hub. So in the first part of the application is the My Teams. And within the My Teams, this will show a list of all of the different teams that a user is a member of. So they could come in here, click the Open Team, that would open the team within Teams, show the General tab, they could start working in there, modifying documents, doing whatever they need. It also shows the group owners, whether it's public or private. And there's also this department, community, all of these different labels, which are sensitivity labels. So we've helped to set up some structure around the groups to apply sensitivity labels based on the different needs of various types of 365 groups. So a project will have different needs for a 365 group than say a department would. So that shows in here. And as we go through this My Teams, we can also filter the groups based on those sensitivity labels. So if we only wanted to see the projects that I'm a member of, I could see those. If we want to see everything, we could, or even we could just come in here and search by the name of the group itself. One other thing that was a requirement from them is on some screens having these big cards, it may be hard to see all of the list of cards because they're pretty big, and if you're on a mobile device, it may be a little bit more difficult to see all of the teams you're a member of. So we've also created this table view which lists all of the items and makes that a little bit easier. Now if we hop over to the all teams, this one is very similar. It has the same UI, but slightly different backend to it. So what it does is it pulls a list of all of the different 365 groups within Swinnerton's tenant. So this is a demo tenant right now, so it's not actually Swinnerton's, but it'll pull all of these 365 groups and it will show all of them. So you'll see here's a project and it's private. So typically within the Microsoft Teams interface, you can go into the teams and see a list of the teams, but it will only show the public teams. So we've created a way for anyone to be able to come in here and let's say a new project got started up in Indiana and I need to be a part of that project to start working on documents and helping the project team. So I could come in here and search for that project. In this case, I'm going to use one of these test projects that we have. And so I could search for it, find it, and then click this Join Team button. Now what that's going to do is it's going to trigger an approval to whoever the group owners are. So on here, we'll see these group owners. And as soon as I click that button, there will be a new activity in the group owners teams. And they'll get a notification in there. When they click on that notification, it'll pull up a pop-up. And it usually takes a minute, but it should pull up a pop-up that shows this person, requester, would like to join Team X. So then from there, they can hit approve or reject, and it will send a response back to the requester. And then they can start collaborating, working in the team, doing whatever they need to do. So let's say, for example, they come in here, they click the all teams, they search for it, they can't find it. So maybe the next step is to create that project. So what they can do is there is this third part of the application. And in this third part of the application, we've created different buttons and forms specific to each different type of 365 group that they have within their organization. So something like a community, a project, a work group, department, division, external project work group. So each of these have slightly different settings and needs within the organization. So a community would be something like like the book club. It's a community or a place where everybody can get together on a specific topic, not work related. Whereas a project is specific to a project in the organization. So if I come in here and click the project, it then brings up a form with various different items that the user would then place and modify based on the needs for that specific project. So in there's a project code. They use a project specific code for each of their projects. We'd also have a name. So let's say, for example, we were building a city hall for Salt Lake City. So we could come in here and call it Salt Lake City Hall. We could add a purpose here, provide some description. And then there's other settings that we have provided as well as part of the form that we can hide or show so that when the team gets created, we can automatically create a Microsoft team with it. We could create a notebook and make an instance of that, create a planner for the group. So we'll go ahead and add the owners. And you'll see that as we fill out the form, the button is still grayed out. And the reason behind that is because you'll see this project-19191911 is invalid. So that means we already have a project with this exact naming convention. So what they'll need to do is if they come in here and see that this project is invalid, that should be a trigger to them to say, oh, there's already one of these projects. I shouldn't be creating one. Let me go double check in the All Teams tab and see where that project is located and search for that. If it's not there, then we make a new project code here, whatever that may be. So we'll just call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll use that. So then once that is available and used, we can then just come in and create the team. And then that team this will then call an API and it creates the team behind the scenes. And everybody that is a member or marked as an owner will also get a notification for that. Now, while I was demoing this, you'll notice I got an activity here. So if we click on this activity, we'll see that this was the team request that I clicked on with the other user. So Adele Vance would like to join Kennedy Project Test. So I can click this reject or approve, and in this case, we'll approve it. And then this will send a notification back to the other user, and they'll be added to the team. So that may take a minute. Oh, there we go. And right away, they'll get a notification, and they can immediately start working within the project. So that's a general overview of an application that we were able to work on and help John and the rest of his organization with. And with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Rhett to demo one other custom application.
All right, thanks, Ben. So the final thing I want to demo is just adaptive cards. So I talked about adaptive cards and how they work, but I think the power is actually seeing them work. So I will start to share my screen, and I can show that. Let's see. So Microsoft has quite a bit of documentation on how adaptive cards work, but I'm going to show you just their adaptive card website. So if you're ever interested in learning more, go to adaptivecards.io and you can go through the documentation. But most importantly, they've got this designer. And what we've done is I pre-populated this with a JSON object that I had already built. It just has, some information, and here's a rendering of what it looks like. Pull request, pull header. We can ask questions, and we can have a submit button. In some renditions of the adaptive card reader, you can actually, or of adaptive cards, you can have a payload. And what it'll do is you have a template, you template it over here, and then use the tool to inject the payload, and that the data, and that data will template out what you'd like. And so that could be the data might have the choices or the header or some information. So we can grab that from a different data source and merge it with our template and display it. In the case of Flow, which we're going to demo from, we don't have that capability, but some tools do. Bots have that ability, or if you want to use they have a JavaScript library. If you want to leverage that, you can do it there. One thing that's really cool about the designer is you can actually see how it renders in different environments. So if I wanted to see what it might look like in Outlook, I can do that. If I want to see what it will look like in Teams in dark mode or light mode, I get that capability. Here's what it might look like if Cortana were to present it in like the start menu. And then again, light and dark mode, or the bot framework, or just a regular website. So quite a bit of options. In fact, Viva Connections uses adaptive cards too, if you had a chance to attend the Viva Connections class. But quite a bit of options for seeing host apps, but also you can do inline changes. So as I make these changes, they'll show up here. And obviously this is too much text, so it cut it off. But you can kind of see the changes we make in line. And understand, what your adaptive card would look before anyone ever has to see it. So here's an example of a flow we built that it's a manually triggered flow, and I'll just kind of walk through it. We manually kick it off, and we can post a message to a chat from Flow with an adaptive card. And you can do quite a bit of different things when it comes to posting things from Flow, but this is actually a combination of just being able to post to a channel, but as well as include a more rich text experience for the users. So in here, I pasted this JSON object that we built, and I can go ahead and hit test, and I'll just manually test it. Move Ben out of the way here, and it completed. And then if I jump over to my team, I can see the message I just sent. Hey everyone, pull request, and you can say 1, 2, 3. In this case, it really doesn't do anything, but just an example of what it might look like within it. Again, highly customizable, easy to modify. You don't necessarily need to know HTML or CSS or JavaScript to be able to build it. You need to understand kind of what the JSON says, but JSON is a very simple syntax, so it's pretty easy to see kind of what everything does. You'll see like spacing. You can make sizes. Maybe we say extra. Or maybe we just want it large. So it changes sizes. Can be quite customizable that way, and however you want to render it for the users. And that's the gist of it. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. Right now, we'll be happy to stick around and answer any questions or any concerns. And yeah, thanks everyone.